What's up, everybody? It's Tony Lopez here and excited for today's episode of the podcast. Got my good friend Shawn Maguire with us. Now, Shawn has worked on a bunch of very successful startups, and about 5 years ago, he made the shift to going into business for himself. He's a videographer and video strategist working with some of the biggest online names, which include Neil Dingra, Brandon Turner, Ryan Pineda, and Noah Kagan. Lastly, one of the unique things about his business story is back in 2022, he did choose to scale back a bit, and it's proven to be a more profitable, peaceful, and enjoyable business that he's running now. So can't wait to chop it up with him. Well, great to be with you here, Shawn. Thank you for taking the time, man. And for those that are watching, Shawn is a really good friend of mine. So this is a good excuse for us to hang out and for people to learn about what you've been up to.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tony. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. So about 5 years ago, you make the shift to get into videography. How did you even do that? Were you already involved in that kind of space prior to that?
Yeah, so good question. I was working at a startup under the creative director, kind of just learning from him. He was a do-it-yourselfer, go on YouTube, figure it out. So that was kind of the aha for me of, oh, like you don't have to go to film school to make videos. So he kind of like introduced me to it. And then my roommate at the time had a camera and he wasn't using it. So he's just like, yo, take the camera, bring it places. So I started bringing it everywhere I went and then just kind of snowballed from there.
That's great.
And I joked that I went to YouTube University.
I love that. Dude, that's amazing. I feel like nowadays more than ever, it may be better than regular university, depending on what you want to do, right? I feel like I learned a lot just on YouTube. So what did it look like for you to make that jump from it just being maybe a hobby or something you were just learning to starting to charge for it?
Sure. It was definitely a transition. When I first started, I still had a job. So it was definitely like the side hustle, go out at night. You know, we're in Vegas, so I'd go to like the arts district or downtown and help kind of more with the local events. And then finally, once I felt confident enough to charge, I remember I was charging like $25 an hour, and I thought like, oh man, this is great. You know, and then like the next year, I think I increased my rates to 50, and I was like, I am rich, you know, and like I just thought I had made it, you know. But it was definitely a slow progression for me. And, you know, every year over year, it's just gotten better and better. I haven't had like an explosive growth any of the years like some people might have. It's just been kind of slow and steady.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like just from talking offline regularly, you know, I've been able to see even in the last 6 months, it sounds like just a lot of consistency. And what's unique about what you're doing is at this stage in your career, you're working with really high profile clients. I'm always getting updates from you on like, what did you do the last few weeks? You know, and you're always like, I flew to Miami, I flew to New York, and you know, you're filming for these different people. Give us a little bit of idea, like what are some of the people or the events that you've been doing some work for, like 2023 and in 2024?
Sure. So I like to say I work with purpose-driven entrepreneurs who want to, you know, grow their audience, create a bigger impact. A lot of them are coaches or have online communities where they're like teaching other people how to do what they've done. Some of the notable names, I guess, of the people I've worked with, Brandon Turner had an event here in Vegas, so they hired me to capture that and do some recap videos, testimonials. Like you said, I was just in Miami for an entrepreneur named Maggie Berghoff. She's a former nurse practitioner who's got an online community and teaching people health and wellness. I filmed with Noah Kagan when he came to town in Vegas. But a lot of events, masterminds, conferences. That's kind of my bread and butter as of lately.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And I feel like it's interesting, you know, the business journey. You know, I feel like early on when you started, did you think you'd be doing those types of things that you're doing now? Or did you early on, you had one idea of what the goal was and it's the poles have moved and you're going in a different direction?
Yeah, I've definitely dabbled and tried different things. I thought all the money for creators was to work with YouTubers, and it certainly can be, but the YouTubers I worked with when I first started making videos, they weren't, you know, making as much money as you'd think based on the type of content they were posting. And so I learned early on that if it wasn't a business or they didn't have a budget for it, you know, it wouldn't be a sustainable relationship. And then just through kind of doing a lot of events, my first like event mastermind that I was introduced to was probably during COVID, and it was for Ryan Pineda, and he had 50 people at his first one. Now they've really grown. They have over 1,000 people at his events. They do them every quarter. But that was kind of the aha moment for me of, oh, there's entrepreneurs with online communities putting on events and they want to capture it.
I love that. And kind of that journey, so 5 years, you're now here. What were some of the challenges that you faced in that journey? I know you said early on you didn't, go all in right away, right? You did. It made sense. You kept a certain job that you had. You did it as a side hustle. Eventually, I guess the side hustle grew. And in that journey, what were some of the ups, some of the downs, maybe some of the biggest challenges you had to overcome to last and to be where you're at today?
How much time do we have?
Yeah, that's fair. We got time.
Okay. So it's definitely a side hustle. I say if you can build a bridge, from like your day job, have something else going on the side and build the bridge where, you can at least make the same amount. For me, I was kind of forced into it because I was building the bridge, but the analogy I used was the island was on fire and the bridge to get to the mainland wasn't completely built. So I ended up having to leave my job earlier than I thought. That was scary and stressful. For me, it's always been, the hardest part's been, finding clients that resonate, that I can work with long term. I think wearing a lot of hats is always a challenge. And you don't know what you don't know until you do it.
Yeah.
I thought I like making videos, I'll make videos. But, in reality, maybe only 20% of the time is spent making videos. The other times you got to be, marketing yourself, staying up to date with the latest and greatest, doing the work, doing revisions, invoicing, follow-ups. So if somebody would have told that to me when I started, I think it could have helped me become more well-rounded sooner because I didn't think about all those things. I thought, oh, I got a camera. I know how to do some cool video edits. They're going to hire me. But, that was a mistake. It's been harder to get my foot in front of the right people than I thought when I got started.
And I feel like, in Vegas, it does seem like a pretty competitive market to some degree, at least. Like I feel like even within our friend network, there's a lot of people in the videography type of space.
Yeah.
And, with different people that I've talked to in that space, they've expressed similar challenges. Hey, we're having a hard time being consistent. They might get like a great gig at the beginning of the month, and then they're like, man, I can't seem to land another job, right? And so what have you noticed has been something that's helped you, get more consistent? Is it just with time you've naturally just developed more relationships, a larger network, or is there any specific strategies that you've implemented that are helping you to get more business and get more demand?
Sure. So a couple things. Whenever I get asked to do an event, if they don't have the budget that I'm looking for, I look at what other takeaways can I get out of it. So whether it's like production value and something I can use in my reel, or somebody noteworthy is going to be there, the relationships I'll form, and I always think work begets more work. So more times than not, I'll say yes if I can make it happen, unless they're really lowballing. And then when you're at the event, that's your time to shine. I try to be unforgettable. I say hi to everyone. I smile. Try to remember names. Kind of just like the basics of, communication, or like what my mom would tell me as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, just say hi to everyone, smile. And that goes a long way because everyone at these events is going in, not knowing people. Maybe they're nervous. We all want to connect and meet other people, but not everyone's outside their shell. So I kind of take that obligation as myself of kind of being a contractor or staff of, feeling a little bit more comfortable to go out of my way to say hi to people. Maybe it's because I have the camera with me, but if you just say hi and talk to people, you never know who they are. You're just like one connection away from
That's real.
Potentially having the next best event or gig that you'll book. So
that's really cool. I know. I feel like if I look at my story with business, so oftentimes like the unlock to the next level or the next stage for you in business is a person. It's a relationship. So you can't just kind of keep yourself cooped up in your room, or like you got to get out. And the fact that you're able to get out there, shake hands, meet people, it's really cool. And I know that's probably been a big ingredient to your success.
Yeah. I mean, look at how we met. I don't know if you remember, but it was a first Friday.
Yeah.
You had your container there. I was like, this is cool. Talk to this guy. And I would have never guessed that we would stay in touch for all these years. Huh? So, and then when I look at a lot of the gigs that I've had, when you connect the dots looking back, it's kind of fun to see like, oh, wow, like this all started from me knowing another person. Like every dollar that you've made or I've made, it's all from somebody else that we knew that hired us,
Yeah.
I always, think I don't have to be the best videographer. I just have to be the best one that they know.
That's really cool. I love that. That's a great point too.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times in business, and I feel like you have similar feelings and understandings where I'm going to go with this, but there's a lot of different types of businesses that people can run. There's also like different categories of business. So there's side hustle, which could be a very viable business, but you're not doing it full time. There's solopreneurship, it's just a business of one. Micro business, where now you got maybe 10 people, and from there all the way up to Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought it was pretty cool. We were talking maybe 18 months ago, and I feel like you were in a season where, it was maybe a good year of business, but didn't go all the ways that you wanted it to. Mm-hmm. And you made some shifts to, like, the phrase I like to use a lot is like get lean and get leverage. Like that phrase is just a phrase that has helped me a lot in my business. But I feel like you got lean. And if you could just share with people, what was that for you? Did you have maybe aspirations early on to say, hey, I want to get to the point where like I got this huge team and everyone's doing stuff? Or was that never an aspiration? Or what was that journey of kind of scaling back to where now things you would say are more profitable and, seem to be a little more consistent as well?
So yeah, I went from like in a 6-month span of having kind of like a project manager and a couple contract editors and 3 clients on retainer to no clients on retainer, and one of them actually still owing me over 20K. So I had to downsize quick, and it's had some pros to it. Obviously it's more profitable, but now I'm doing all the work again myself. Mm-hmm. So that has its challenges.
Yeah.
I think when I was growing the team and I had the retainers, I thought it would be really cool to have like a huge team and a lot of employees or a lot of contractors. But as I started managing more clients and the team, I realized that I didn't like it as much. So if I could keep it more niche and smaller and have just a few select clients that I work with regularly that I really like working with and resonate with, for me, that kind of just fits my personality better.
That's great.
Because that year when I did the books, it was like I spent this much money on contractors, and it's just like, where did all the money go?
Yeah.
And so now I'm really trying to take it upon myself to do as much as I can before delegating, because I'm not that alpha male sales guy where I'll delegate all the tasks to you or somebody else and then go, dial for dollars and call people. That doesn't really resonate with my, personality and strengths as much. So if it does work for you and you're like a sales guy and you can delegate, great. Like I've seen a lot of people scale that way, but just kind of knowing your personality type and your strengths and weaknesses, I think for me, it works better to kind of keep it lean so I can get the leverage, like you said. Yeah,
that's really great, dude. And based on kind of running it that way at the moment, and I like your point about like, for different people, it can work differently. And I love that because it's not a one size fits all thing with business at all.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the hard way, thinking, I have to be able to manage a huge team and kind of similar to you, didn't enjoy that. And as I've scaled back to more of a very similar to like a solopreneur kind of model, it's been really enjoyable. And what I want to ask you is, now that you went from having a small team to kind of scaling back, do you foresee yourself wanting to scale back up, but maybe just differently now? Or how does that look for you?
Yeah, I think I'll try. I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm getting bottlenecks because there's only so many hours in a day and so much I can do. So I'm definitely looking to start, bringing somebody on. I just want to be smart about it because in the past I wasn't keeping track of the spend,
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a big punch in the gut at the end of the year when you look at the books and you're like, where'd all the money go?
Yeah.
And so right now I'm just trying to be slow, with my decision making in the sense of, I guess measure twice, cut once. Like it's kind of like
that's really cool
how I'm trying to think of it. Because I have a lot of other friends similar to to you as well, that have small businesses, and we talk to them, and it's like they're just stressed out because they got all this responsibility with a team or employees, and those employees have family members. And then, if they don't make, their bottom line, they're going to be in the red. And I'm the type where when things are going well, like I can, double down and work even harder. But when things are going bad, I kind of become more of like a recluse and in my corner and have a lot of self-doubt. So I'm just trying to kind of stack the cash right now and be really smart with it before making like any impulsive decisions of, just delegating.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like because I've been on that similar journey, I feel like I am in a phase now where now I guess I would say is I'm scaling up, but I'm scaling up differently than I had done it before. Before when I thought about how do I scale up, it would be bringing on a W-2 employee for 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just realized, at least in my industry, in certain industries, I'm sure that makes a lot of sense. But in my industry, it's very seasonal. Like we'll have peak seasons where we're super busy, and then we have slow seasons where the work just isn't there. And so for us to have more contract relationships with like 1099 independent contractors has been a way better model for us. And it's allowed us to where in a busy season, we can scale up to meet the demand. And then in a slow season, we can kind of just keep our expenses at a bare minimum and be okay. Because similar to you, in 2022, we did a little over $1 million in revenue and the actual profit was basically zero. And that was the year for me where I was like, man, what are we doing? Like, I feel like I work so hard and I'm putting in all this energy. And at the end of the day, like my butt is on the line if something goes wrong. I mean? Like you have a lot of responsibility and liability as the owner and depending on the industry too. But I was like, I just have to do something different. This just isn't working. And so I think for a lot of people that are a struggling entrepreneur, like that's really applicable. Like, hey, you may need to scale back. Like, how do your expenses look? And then trying to figure out how do I hire the right way, and in a way that's I'm not gonna end up regretting. So for me, what I've done, I feel like, and maybe it'll look different in 3 years, but right now, like I've kind of done like baby hiring, where I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a role. It's gonna be 5 to 10 hours a week. This is what we need done. Here's our budget. Is anybody interested in being involved in it? And it's more like several really small roles instead of maybe just bringing 1, 2, 3, 4 people on all full time. And it's worked out pretty cool that way. I've enjoyed that.
Nice.
Now, when I look at our relationship, we met and we got to work together on videography. You helped me with my business, whether it was photography, capturing our products, or creating reels or YouTube videos. And I've been able to see firsthand the impact that video can make in a small business. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that. You've helped a lot of small businesses. What are maybe some of the success stories of people that have doubled down on content and how that's improved their business?
Sure. I mean, yeah. So I think, content's one way where you can replicate yourself, clone yourself, so to speak. You can make a video on how to make an A-frame house. And when somebody asks you a question, you can refer them, hey, watch this video. So it could save you time in that sense. Like I've also seen small businesses and helped with, creating like standard operating procedure type videos, tutorial videos, just things even internally where like you're onboarding somebody, watch these videos. So that's one way it can like save time. I think a lot of times people always think, oh, it has to be social media driven and it has to be something that could potentially make me money, but it can also be something that can save you time. And then once you do find out, who your audience is, and you're staying consistent with it and you have a message that resonates, I've seen it, 2x sales for some, clients. So
that's amazing.
It's one of those things where if you could stay consistent with it over time and you're putting out good, valuable information, and it's well presented and packaged, I think it could be something that, will have dividends in the end. It's just a matter of if you're going to stick with it long enough, because a lot of times people quit too soon.
That's real. Now, do you feel like, of course, more and more people are jumping into creating content? Given the market right now, is it too saturated to double down in this area at this point? Or do you feel like, hey, there's still a lot of opportunity and there's always room for different voices? Or how do you kind of see that?
Sure. I think it's only going to continue to get more and more saturated. We live in like the creator economy right now. I feel like it's like everyone wants to be a creator. Everyone wants to be entertained. Everyone has a phone. And I don't think consumption is going to go down. If anything, it's only going to keep going up. So I think the sooner you can jump on the creator bandwagon of creating something, whether it's podcasts like you or reels, or vlogs or whatever it is, the sooner you can start, the sooner you're in the game.
That's great. And for people that maybe they're a small business owner right now and they're like, hey, I haven't really gotten involved in this space, but they see the value in it. What are some good practical steps to help someone get started?
Well, I guess the first thing I'd say is you don't always need to have the latest and greatest cameras, to get started. I think Alex Hermosi proved that when he first started his channel, filming on like a mobile phone in his closet. Even Mr. Beast, if you look at him, his first like 200 videos on YouTube were made with a mobile phone. So don't get caught up in, what kind of camera you have. Like we all have iPhones. If you don't have an iPhone, you don't have a phone. Just kidding. That's my diss to the non-iPhone people.
That's
but
awesome.
I think, you can use your phones to start, and it's more, I think, substance and story driven than anything like right now. We see a lot of talking head videos, direct to camera. People are doing educational things. So if you have an expertise or experience in something and you can just teach other people that are a few steps behind you in the journey, or another way to think of it is give yourself advice 3 years ago,
That's cool. I like that.
create the content now of, what you wish you had known, that can help people, that are in the same
Really cool.
journey.
And I love the substance and story driven aspect instead of like, hey, you need to have, incredible quality video, and you have to have really intense edits and, what I mean? Like that could be overwhelming. And I've noticed that as well, just the power of story, just the ability to take someone on the journey of what you're up to even for today, or, hey, this is behind the scenes of our business, how we create X, Y, and Z, or, those kinds of pieces of content we've been starting to play around with more on our own channel. And we've, seen it resonate with a lot of people. And it's not like high production value. It's pretty simple, right? Now, for people that are in the process of, getting started, are there certain tools or apps that you've come across that have been helpful for editing and helping them create that content?
Sure. I mean, so I use Adobe Premiere. You can also use Final Cut, iMovie. CapCut is really good right now. I know a lot of people are on CapCut. DaVinci Resolve is another good one that's also free. Autopod is great software with AI for cutting up podcasts. Frame.io is a good site to use if you're like reviewing videos and you want to see like time-stamped annotations of critiquing videos. So if you get to the point where you're critiquing a video, Frame.io, they just got bought by Adobe a few years back, but that's like a really good tool just to alleviate any like stress within the communication of like, how do I critique this video?
Yeah.
So those are kind of the top of mind.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, I got to start messing around with CapCut. I've always heard of it, and I keep seeing it pop up more and more now.
It's gotten a lot better. Like I tried it right when it came out. I'm like, it's okay. But I tried it like probably 6 months back, and I was like, whoa.
I got to check it out again. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, we've been using, have you put Opus clips yet?
Yeah,
you have a little bit, right? Yeah. I've been impressed. That's an example of something, AI powered that 6 months ago wasn't very good. Like I used it 6 months ago and I was like, this isn't great. And now I used it and I was surprised to see like I was able to put an interview in there. It was like an interview that's about an hour and a half long, and it generated 20 clips, 20 reels that were like actually really good content. Like I was really surprised. I guess the AI is officially getting better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen that too with Opus. When I first started, it was like, okay, but they keep doing the updates. I think they either have like a Discord or a WhatsApp channel for like the customer support. I'd say that's a little bit of a drawback for me because like you can't really talk to anybody and you have to go through like forums.
Yeah.
But as they update it, it just gets better and better.
It's cool. Yeah. Now, for someone that wants to take it to maybe the next level, they're like, hey, I have a little bit of a budget. I want to invest in a nice setup. What recommendations do you have for them? Like maybe like, hey, I want to get a good camera to create some videos for Instagram. Maybe they have to document stuff they're working on. They want better photography. What would you recommend in that realm?
So I'm a big fan of Sony's. Sony ZV-E10 is a great like just starter camera. Depending on the budget, if you want to get like the FX3 or the A7S III, those are also great. FX3 is the cinema camera. Netflix just approved those now for their platform. So if you have an FX3, it's like, good enough to make for Netflix.
Wow.
A7S3 is great for photo and video. But I'm just biased, and I always say like Sony's the best and part of the Sony gang. So I'd say anything Sony, you can't go wrong.
Awesome. I love that.
So Tony, how has content helped your business? Because I know in the last year you've really made a commitment to creating more consistent content, and you've had some nice really growth on Instagram. How has it helped your business?
It's been really, really beneficial. I feel like we made a commitment a while back ago to say, okay, we're going to do a post a day. It wasn't too overwhelming, but you have to be consistent to do it. And so that was probably about a year ago. And I feel like what happened is, I heard a quote earlier, and it was this idea that like when something's not working, usually it's because it's working on you at that time. And I feel like in video and in content creation, it's like that. I feel like, hey, I'm posting and I'm not getting as many views as I want, and that kind of thing. A lot of times it just means like maybe the quality is just not quite there yet, and you're now going to get better and better, and with time it will be. And I feel like that was our story with the business, is our content was okay. And I feel like with time, the more we posted, the more we identified, hey, I think this is what people are looking for. And we were able to make some small investments just in some gear and things like that. So like a simple one for us, we do container homes. We just invested in a drone, and it was like $1,200. And now when we deliver something, I can just throw the drone up. We'll just let that thing capture the whole thing for like 20 minutes. And then we can chop it up into reels and make little kind of like virally 10-second clips with great music, really quick chopped up kind of video clips. And it's impacted our business in some really big ways, in that so we went from, I would say probably a year ago, we were at 35K on Instagram, and we had been posting, I'd say inconsistently, for about 5 years. And then we shifted to consistently posting. We had one video that went viral. And I kind of had seen this happen with other friends' accounts. Like when they had a video go viral, it's almost like it's like a wave, like if you're surfing, right? And I'm like, dude, we got to catch this wave. The wave is there. Like we're getting natural organic traffic to our account. So let's just keep feeding it similar content. So we had a video of one of our A-frames go viral, and I literally fed like the next 50 videos were like similar type content. And so that grew us to about 110K. And then I started to recognize at that point, like, oh snap, that type of content was drone footage. It was high pace, chopped up clips, like I would say high quality clips. And so I continued to try to provide that kind of content. And what I started to do as well was try to interview people that had done other really cool container homes. And as part of promoting those interviews is I would take content that they had created, chop it up, and post it on our account, right? And we had one of those videos hit 70 million views. And that took our account from like 110,000 to probably 410,000, like overnight, And right now we're at 450, and we plateaued the last month, which is an interesting reason why we have. But it's ultimately like we have to relearn and keep pushing. But yeah, the biggest takeaway for me is that it has allowed us to now really optimize by using many chats. And so in our posts, we're always encouraging someone, hey, if you want more information, DM us the word or comment the word, whatever. They'll comment it. They'll get an automated reply back. And I learned from a guy a while back ago about the importance of emails and how, Instagram can be taken from us. TikTok can be taken from us, as if you watch the news today, like it really could be.
Yeah.
And so if you're just building if your whole empire is built on a platform and you're playing in someone else's sandbox, like, dude, there's a lot of risk in that. If they get rid of that sandbox, your whole business collapsed. So I'm all about like diversifying, right? So we want to be on YouTube, we want to be on Instagram, we want to be on TikTok. But the most important thing to me is actually email, because emails we own. And I know emails aren't going to evaporate. They're not going anywhere. And so when we have that call to action on Instagram about DMing a word, it never just sends you to a link. That we're going to have an email barrier between you and the link. So it's going to request an email, and then from there you'll get access to whatever that information is. But it's allowed us to actually collect 30,000 emails in the last 6 months. So we've been averaging 100 emails per day. So it's been incredible. So as you can imagine, like that obviously has helped the business a ton. And so we've also doubled down on our email marketing, just doing weekly campaign emails and things like that. But yeah, none of that would have been possible without content. And a couple other kind of quick things. It's also opened up some cool new doors for us, even with potentials for like TV network stuff, because they'll see our content and they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, we're looking to create a show and we need people that are building weird structures. And we see that you're building weird structures. Are you interested? So we had that happen twice in the last 3 months. We put together a sizzle, and we've gone through that before, but it's always because of the content. And so, yeah, it's definitely been a huge help.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like if anybody, is on the fence about is it worth it, at least my experience is like hands down, it's still worth it, And if we were able to have that kind of growth in the last 6 months, like my thoughts are like, there's still plenty of opportunity out there. And that's part of the reason even like I'm interested in launching my personal brand and still finding my voice on what that is. But I'm like, I know it is saturated, but it's not too saturated, so it's worth pursuing.
Awesome. In the beginning, when you were posting, were you doing all the work, or did you have an editor? Or
That's a really good point. Yeah, I was doing all of the work pretty much. Yep. So I would be capturing the content, editing it, posting it.
Wow.
And as people know, it's a little bit of a time commitment.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, right. I feel like it was probably it'd probably average about 20 minutes a day to create something. And sometimes I would do it in bulk because I would throw the drone up for 20 minutes and that could be 30 videos. So it'd just be 4 hours of editing, chopping it up. Or a lot of times we're building stuff at our yard. I'll just pull out my iPhone and just do little like walking tours and talk in the background, and captions, of course, would come up, when we post. And yeah, it'd be about 20 minutes a day. But it did get kind of difficult trying to like repurpose it to every platform. So we initially, I started getting some help with just repurposing it. Like, hey, I'm going to post it on Instagram. And then if you can help download it, repost it on, of course it automated to Facebook, but TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And then we tried to do like LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter. And I'm just like, dude, our engagement's terrible right now on those 3 platforms. And so I was like, I'd rather do better quality and just do it right. So we're going to scale it back. So we're just focusing on, a few platforms right now. But we just recently brought someone on maybe 2 months ago. And so now she's basically functioning as like the scheduler. So I just record content, I edit it, I put it in in Google Drive. It's just in a folder. So the personal content and the business content, and then she'll take it right from that folder and then daily distribute it across the platforms, which has been pretty cool, but we don't have it perfected yet. We're still working through it,
Nice.
But, yeah.
And is she manually posting, or does she use like Metricool or Latergram?
Man, so it's a hot topic this week. Yeah. So we've been using Repurpose.io.
Okay.
And I mentioned, just a minute ago, like our account has come to a halt. So I had really rapid growth. Like we were growing 1,000 followers every 3 days probably. And it just was like, it was like effortless at that point. You just would post and you get 100,000 views and 300 new followers and you just do it every day. And then since we switched over to Repurpose, I can't say this is why it's happening. And if I look online, like everything is like, no, it doesn't hurt your reach. But I'm like, dude, half these articles are also published by people that have the software company that does it. So I don't know what the truth is on this, but I made the executive decision this week to be like, look, let's get off Repurpose.io. Just the fact that it might be hurting our reach, I just don't even want to mess with it right now because I've never seen our account lose followers, and we're daily losing followers, which is interesting. Which we always were daily losing followers. That's actually normal, but we would always have like a net positive, of like 300 or whatever it was. And now it'd be like net negative 25. And the content's still good. So part of that, I think, might be the result of us using a third-party distribution platform, or we've also been repurposing a lot of old content because I just had a baby and my time's been busy. So I would, just repurpose old stuff. So we're navigating through that now. It'll be interesting to see maybe in the next month if we see a big, spike again and it kind of climbing. But sure. What has been your experience? That's actually something I've been curious about. Like, hey, does it impact reach? Have you heard anything on that?
Yeah, I think they're going to say it won't, but I think it does. Yeah. I did a little test on my own account and I noticed I didn't get as many views. Unless I think Facebook and Instagram now has a way where you can schedule it within the app.
That's right.
I think if you're an individual and you're busy, like do it like you did, find somebody that you can hire and have them log in and do it, or do it yourself at first.
Yeah.
But I think even if you are using, repurpose.io or Later or Metricool, I think posting using that is better than not posting at all.
For sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like a hot debate right now with, to use a schedule or not,
Yeah. And I hadn't had the best experience in the past. I feel like it hindered my reach back in the day when I would do it, like pretty dramatically. And so I felt like back then for sure it was doing it. But I was like, okay, times have changed. I heard an influencer mention it and he's got a big Instagram following and he uses it. So I'm like, oh, maybe it works. So I guess it's up for the debate, but I was like, I'll hold off for now.
Do like a test with your manual lay now and your new hire and compare like this month versus last month. Or
yeah, I'm excited to try it out. So
yeah,
we're in the process of going back to manual, and I'm confident that we'll see a good climb again. So that'll be sweet. But dude, I want to ask you this. So I feel like we offline talk a lot about business and a lot about purpose or goals or why are we doing what we're doing, and what do you see as I guess two sides to this coin? Maybe for those people that currently have a W-2 job but are interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, starting their own business, and they feel like for themselves, like that's what they want to do. How would you encourage someone to make that leap and maybe the right way of doing that?
I think if you can start it as a side hustle and have traction first, kind of like we were talking earlier, build the bridge versus just jumping in, that's a little bit more doable versus like kind of having that panic. Like I remember when I quit my job, it was like, what do I do? And when I was at the job during the day, I remember thinking like, if I put all this time into my own stuff, I could, like a 10-hour day, like I'd be unstoppable. And then when I finally had that 10-hour day, I'm like, what do I focus on? So I think if you can create it as a side hustle first and like have proof of concept, that's always better than just, making assumptions and blindly jumping in. Yeah. Try to find your first few customers,
that's cool.
Before you actually quit, your lifeline of, the day job.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then for you, what would you say are your personal goals for business right now? Is it, you're trying to make millions? Is it more of a lifestyle thing? Is it a mix of both? What are you kind of aiming for right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of a moving goalpost for me, like every year you get more clarity, but then you still have more questions and you're still kind of navigating it. Right now, I think I do better when I'm busy than when I'm bored. So I try to stay busy if I can. I have like revenue goals for what I want to do that I've been setting like each quarter, and then kind of just breaking those down. Like, all right, how many days of the month do I need to be filming? How many days of the month should I be DMing people? What are the daily non-negotiables that some people call it? That you're going to just do every day. And it's still a struggle for me. Like I'm still kind of figuring that out for me.
Yeah.
Right now, I think ultimately to have the work-life balance and then to not have to worry about money and then just to be like happy are like my goals. When I first started, it was like, I want to be the next Mark Cuban, but I quickly learned, with more clients, it's more work and more responsibility, more stress.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think I perform better when I have that work-life balance. And then really just to be working with people that I enjoy working with. I've worked with a lot of really cool people. I've also worked with some jerks.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to work with people that you resonate with. You have the same values. Maybe you have the same mission of, helping people and just like getting the word out. So for me, I'm like really big on like who I work with. And, it's like the vibe attracts the tribe. I want to work with people that I can vibe with.
That's cool. I love that. And I feel like that is growth. Sometimes I feel like you think the goal is always more revenue, more profit, but it isn't always the goal, right? Like I think the way you described it, part of the goal, of course, could incorporate that, which it makes a lot of sense. But you also are saying, hey, I want to work with the right people. Like basically the work that I'm doing, I want to be able to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
And I feel like with us, it's similar. We tried to be the big mass manufacturer, and there may be opportunities for us to do larger scale stuff down the road, but right now we consider our business like very boutique-y. Like, hey, we like to do really creative, cool projects. We work with really interesting people, and we aren't going to necessarily be interested in taking on every project. And it's like finding stuff that resonates with you and that you could joyfully do. Like we just closed our biggest deal ever, which was really cool.
Wow, congrats.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
And what was so cool about it is I was telling my wife, I was like, you know what I'm actually most excited about? Isn't that it was like our biggest deal that we've closed and that was more revenue or even potentially more profit. It was like, oh, I have an opportunity to work on a really cool project. Like, hey, dude, they literally are building a tiny home community in Oklahoma. It's got like 22 acres, 2 houses on each acre. So 44 homes. The homes are really unique and cool. 2-story container homes, rooftop decks on all of them, like really incredible interiors, dope entry glass doors that are massive. Like it's just a fun project. So for me, I feel like I'm like a kid again. Like as a kid, when growing up, my mom would be like, dude, all you would do all day, every day is be outside. And you'd be playing in the sandbox, creating stuff. And then in high school, I was really into drawing. So I would just draw houses. Like I would have 2 pages in front of me in class. Like if I'm in biology class, I'd be like, biology notes and a house I'm drawing. So it's cool that you can get to a point where the thing that you're doing is just things you enjoy. Like that's what rich is in a lot of ways, right? Like you're enjoying what you're doing. You're rich in peace. You're not stressed out and freaking out. And of course your needs are being met and you're able to afford, the lifestyle that you want to have. So yeah, that's a really cool point, dude. I love that.
You said 22 acres and then 44. So does each person get half an acre?
Yeah. So
wow, that's pretty.
It's pretty interesting.
Huge yard, tiny living.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're subdividing it into acre lots, and they're selling each acre lot to whoever. But the idea is they'll put 2 homes on it.
So 2 per half. Okay.
So like we're just doing the
yard.
first 2 lots right now.
Okay.
So it's 4 container homes. So 2 different clients, and then they're each getting 2 homes. And it's fun. It's a father and a son. They just bought lots next to each other. So I'm like, it's just a fun project. And then the developer's a father-son combo. It's just cool, man. So I've noticed that in business. It's like, but doing business with who you want to do business with and the people that you enjoy doing business with is like a real form of wealth. It's like I'd rather make less money doing what I enjoy than making more money dreading going to work every day, right? Like it's nice to be able to wake up and just be excited. And I've noticed that even for us, like we have a good friend of ours that has just recently opened up some doors for overseas manufacturing for containers, which has been awesome. The guy actually was just in town for a convention yesterday, so we got to meet him in person and things, one of the co-founders of the factory. And what's been really cool about it is it'll give us a lot of ability to scale, which is awesome, but the relationship is very healthy. So like the lady that introduced us to him is functioning kind of like as a broker relationship. But like we went and visited her and stayed in her container home in Kansas City, and she took us out to dinner. And it's just like a really great human, And she actually used to work for Mattel, so it was one of the people that designed Polly Pocket. So she was an industrial designer in China for 25 years. Then her dad opened a factory in China, and so she has just a great network there. And it's cool that like, oh, we're excited to be able to do business with her, and it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Business is like relationships. It's so much more than just a transaction or, a way to make money.
Sure. I mean, if you look at a typical work week, 8-hour day, 5 days a week, that's 40 hours. Who do you want to spend your time with? It's like
great point.
Better be somebody that you like.
Yeah.
Or at least can tolerate.
Yeah, right? I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, man, it has been a blast hanging with you. I think a lot of great wisdom was shared that people can grab onto. Any final things that you'd want to share with the audience?
The sooner you start, the sooner you can get feedback to know what will work versus just being in the analysis paralysis of thinking about doing it.
Love that.
So get out and ask, and then use your network too. Like if you, like for me, it's making videos. So it's, I'm going to ask people, hey, do you need videos? But if you don't ask, you never know. So I'd say get started and ask.
I love it, man. That's great. Now, how can people keep in touch with you? Maybe they need some video work. Maybe they just want some help figuring out how to do a setup or what gear to get or, some kind of consulting or anything like that. What's the best way to follow along and keep in touch?
I'm mostly active on Instagram.
Cool.
It's just my name, @Shawn Maguire. It's Maguire for hire.
I like it. Awesome, Shawn. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. Really enjoyed that conversation. Hope it blessed you and look forward to seeing you in the next episode.